Hello again. My name is Dr. Bill Johnson. I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Exploring Our Schools. You know, today is really a very special one for me because it provides me an opportunity to share with you one of the dimensions of Southside High School that we don't hear about a whole lot. There's so much discussion about the new standards, about testing, and about high expectations that we have for all of our students that really focus primarily on academics. But the enrichment that we allow our students to be exposed to here at Southside goes well beyond just the academics. And so what we're going to talk about today really is one of those opportunities, and I have three very interesting people with me. I have the teacher of the program, David Beinlich. Thank you so much for joining us. And this is really a combination of art, computer science, and woodworking, I think. I mean, your whole background is art when you think about it.
Absolutely.
So, at any rate, we have two students also. We have somebody who has done this more than once. As a matter of fact, Tim O'Brien, thank you so much for joining us today. And Ava Wang, who's a freshman at Southside. First time through, but nevertheless has some very interesting stories. So I'm going to start with David, if you don't mind. And what I'd like to do is just talk a little bit about the program and how it's evolved and what it does with the kids today.
Okay. Wood design, it's a half-a-year course that we offer here at Southside. It not only teaches the fundamentals of woodworking, but it also incorporates, like we said before, concepts in art and graphic design. The classes evolved significantly over the past 3 years, extremely. Thank you to the continued support of the district and the Rockville Center Education Foundation. We now have been able to take the wood shop as we knew it, and we've brought it into the 21st century. Our students now have access to unbelievable technologies that are cutting edge, and it's just the capabilities of the woodworking student now are infinite.
But it actually starts, and I guess, Tim, maybe it would be a good opportunity to kind of jump in with you, if you don't mind, since you lived through this evolution of, I guess, the last 3 years. I guess you saw the introduction of technology.
Yeah, it was crazy. I remember my first day freshman year, I didn't know what to expect of the class, and I walked in, and it was just a classic woodwork of what I could have envisioned it to be. We were hands-on, working with different woods and different we used graphic design just to start. We would do work on the computers, then we were using different tools. We were doing woodworking just by hand to start, and then to see, like, my sophomore year, to go into it and start using the CNC more and more. For our first projects, we were making signs and cutting boards and all these crazy things that I couldn't have imagined that we'd be able to make.
So you use the computer for design then, right?
Yeah, we used two programs on the computer. You had an option, AutoCAD or this program called Adobe Illustrator, where you're able to make lines and cutting.
Do you have a preference?
I prefer Illustrator. I feel like it's a little more easy, more simple, more straightforward, and it's easy to make that. And then from there, we transport the document into this program called Aspire, and that's what actually creates the cuts and the lines that go into the CNC machine.
You're not sitting there with a hammer and saw anymore.
No, not so much. I mean, some people do that for bigger projects like desks, or I made an arbor with a senior last year, where it was a lot of more classical work, along with the technology where we were cutting in names and writing into the boards.
We actually didn't do that for Southside High School. We did it for another location in Rockville Center. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about it, David, and where that project came from.
Yes, we were commissioned a student was commissioned for an assess project that we have here. It was to make a memorial arbor for a young lady that passed away, and it was for St. Mark's Church. They were building a community garden back there in the honor, and we created this unbelievable opening, this arbor that you have to walk through to get through to it, and that's.
So you were very much involved with that project?
Yeah, the senior had asked for my help, and I was welcome to the idea of helping him out. He used a crazy amount of wood to make the project, and we made it really nice.
So you say that's more of a traditional
Absolutely.
type of
This was
project.
this was a perfect blend between traditional and the new technology, because we created the arbor traditionally.
Yeah, we built it up by hand, and then the new technology that was incorporated into it was, we used a CNC to engrave, I forgot what it said, do you remember?
It was the names, and
Yeah, it was
there was a
it
quote on there as well.
There was an inscription that was put on.
Yes, exactly. That's what the new technology was involved with. That was all done on the computer, and then eventually put into Aspire and then used on the CNC. But it was a great project to show how we use both aspects of classical woodworking and the new technology that we have available for us now.
That's great. Ava, I've been holding you for a few moments because we're sitting here. Sitting below that table is, I guess, one of your projects, so.
Yes.
If you would not mind showing it to the world.
On the CNC machine, we had designed a baseball bat with the new lathe that we have, and the CNC machine will automatically cut it out for you. So it took a lot of trial and error, and it was good. We ran into quite a few issues, but it was our first time using it because it was a new tool that we had, and there's tons of possibilities that you could do with it. I mean, this is rather simple, but you could make like statues or any type of like cylindrical model that you would really wanted to make.
I'm not sure a bat is so simple, because when you see how it's tapered and how it is, in fact, first of all, I guess, where does the wood come from? How do you select? Is there a particular type of wood that you need to use for a bat?
Yes, a baseball bat. To use a bat in
First, hardwood,
Well,
because,
we-
you're hitting a baseball, so you need, with a lot of force going on, the speed of a baseball coming at you, you need a harder wood to actually create a successful bat. So most bats are made of maple. I don't know what wood was used for that.
Well, this is pretty heavy. I mean, it
Yeah,
weighs
it's
about 3 or 4
solid.
pounds.
that one is
right?
made of solid ash.
Oh, solid
Ash-
ash.
ash is another
That's
one
very
used.
dense wood.
Yeah, extremely dense.
Wow. So,
And Ava, can you explain how the 3D indexer that we have is not that's not just going to finish the project for you? Can you explain how much work went into after it was carved to finish it?
Well, this is another part where it's combining the CNC machine with more, I guess you could say, like old-fashioned, because then we had to put it on the lathe and sand everything down, and then we had done the stain on the lathe too. And we had, since it's a pretty small class compared to a lot of the other classes, which provides a lot more of a one-on-one like experience with the teacher.
right.
So it's a much more like intimate class, and you're able to learn a lot more because you have so many like people. You don't have as many people around you, so you end up getting a lot more like attention.
Okay.
And it's a really good opportunity to learn more about teamwork too, because I mean, when I was constructing my cabinet I had like 3 people holding it together for me. And when we were sanding the baseball bat, we had about 4 kids on there sanding at the same time. So it was really fun.
That really is so interesting, because a lot of the work that you do really can't be done just with you individually. You really need, so it is a team.
Yeah, definitely a team effort. It's great, and you could have a lot of friendships in that class that you can build.
But at the
up.
end of the day, everybody has a piece that they actually produce, and, I mean, a sign. I mean, I see some of these pieces at the end of the year, and it blows me away. I mean, first of all, how creative. I mean, where do you get the ideas for some of these things?
A lot of them come from what you can look around your house and say, this is something I might need in my house. I might need a cabinet. I might want a desk for my room. I might just want a sign to put out front of my house. My parents might want a cutting board for a birthday or a Christmas gift. And that's where a lot of these ideas come from, with a need that you, the student, might want.
Yeah.
Might
What I think
have.
now people don't understand, really, and when I say that I get blown away, it's because the work that you guys produce actually rivals, in my opinion anyway, some of the best and most creative pieces of furniture that you can find in the marketplace anywhere. I mean, it's remarkable to see the level of detail, the level of creativity, and they're perfectly put together. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
It really
to
is
see.
crazy. These projects that some kids make, people would go out and buy for hundreds of dollars. That you can,
Or thousands of dollars,
Thousands of
quite
dollars.
frankly. Yes,
Some of
it
these
depends
big-
upon who
big
signs
pieces
their
of
name to
furniture.
it, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, so people have made signs in here that can go for $150 to $250. So, some people have made pieces of furniture that if you were to go to a store and ask to buy it, it would it could be $1,000.
Have you ever made a piece of furniture?
I have never made a piece of furniture for myself. I've helped other people with their pieces of furniture. I've helped people with desks.
Anything stand out in either of your minds in terms of furniture? You were talking about a cabinet that you were helping.
I'm working on a cabinet, this is the first time I've taken the class, and one thing I think I wanted to say is that you shouldn't be nervous if this is your first time being exposed to wood design, because I had walked in and I barely knew how to use a drill and stuff, and then a few weeks later we were designing stuff on the CNC machine and just
So where did the
hopping right
idea
in.
come from for a cabinet, and what is it going to look like?
Well, it's going to be a sliding barn door kind of, and we wanted one for our dining room because we had a blank space and we just redone it.
Oh my goodness, so you're actually going to build something for your home?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's wonderful.
It's gonna take up a good portion of the dining room, so it's gonna be it's gonna be really cool to have people
Oh, so this is
over.
not a tiny little cabinet?
No, it's pretty big. It's 48 inches by 15 inches.
Oh, so holy smokes, so when you say you need a team to help you put this thing together, you
Yeah.
really need a team?
And it's definitely a team in the classroom. It's a good group of kids.
Really? So, where did the idea come from? Does it just match everything in there, or how did you go about designing it?
Well, it was basically just an idea that I'd had, and then I started looking online for more plans and stuff, but there weren't too many plans for it, so then I had to go in and think about the measurements and everything, and it took a lot of planning, but now it's starting to really come
Now,
together.
which of the programs do you use? Do you use the same thing that Tim uses, or?
For this, I'd actually just drawn it out by hand on paper because I'm not really doing much with the CNC machine for this cabinet.
Okay.
So it was all drawn out on paper and then just started cutting.
Well, this really is a mix. I mean, if this is a really traditional type of project with a hands-on approach from beginning to end, while yours is all essentially computer-driven.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about the 3D. Could you just talk about that a little bit more? Because I know that's where, I believe, the foundation kind of walked in the,
Yes.
we'll call it the barn door, but, right.
The Rockville Center Ed Foundation granted us a 3D indexer, which is basically, it's a reverse 3D printer. So instead of adding to create an object, you're taking away from material. We use wood, but you could use metal, you could use plastics.
Right.
And students now can take any 3D model that they create. They could create it in our computer lab that we have in the shop, or they can create it in the Z-Space lab that we have here at the high school. And then we could send it to one of the 3 programs that we have, Aspire. And basically, we use code,
Yeah.
and we code the machine and let it carve it out.
So let me back up for 1 second. I mean, it sounds so simple when you say, oh, just going to code the machine. What exactly does that mean? I mean, that's a skill that people talk about as a very marketable skill out there in the world of
Yeah.
work.
Well, with Aspire, it really makes it a lot more easy for us to go and plug in lines in different directions that eventually the CNC will tell the blade or the drill to go and cut out from. So it's the code that we infuse is just lines that the CNC ends up cutting out. It's really impressive.
So essentially, you're sitting at a screen ultimately and are exactly designing in advance or putting in a sequence, I guess, the cuts, the drills.
Exactly.
So
Absolutely.
how many different things can it do?
Oh, many, many. When you're designing something in Aspire, now you're making decisions. Computer really does nothing. It's all what you're telling the computer to
Right.
do.
Okay.
So you have to choose what
That's
cutting.
important to understand.
Oh, extremely,
This is
yeah.
not just the computer doing it, it's you using the computer as a tool.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So it just enhances your ability to
Enhances
use a
things.
saw, a hammer, a lathe.
They have so many decisions that you have to make. What bit are we going to use to cut this out? If we use this bit, it's going to come out like this. If we use this bit, it's going to come like this. How fast are we going to make the machine go? Is the machine going to go really fast? Because it's not so good. But we only have a certain amount of time, so we have to juggle a lot of different variables to make it work. But without the students doing the work, the machine would just sit there. It would do nothing, right, Ava?
Yeah, you're just conducting it, like you're the conductor of whatever the machine's doing. So
Oh, what a
you're-
great way to describe that. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
It's
Yeah.
great.
So that's where the bat came from, actually,
Yeah,
right?
mhm. We had worked on it for quite a bit. It was our first time using it, so we had some issues with the tool path, so it took a lot of trial and error. We had made, this is what, like version.
So I shouldn't ask what
2
some
or
of the other
3.
bats look like,
Oh,
right? So, You wouldn't want to go to the plate and try to use them, I guess, right?
No.
No, okay.
But I think, Ava, you finally dialed it all in, and I think you can make a bat now. In about how long, you think?
Well, actually laying it out, I think I could probably do that in like 15 minutes, and the cutting maybe another 30 minutes, and the sanding I could probably do the next day in class.
So actually what you do is that you have a long piece of rectangular wood, and essentially then what happens? She creates the coating, it tells the machine,
Yes, and if you think of it like a traditional wood-turning lathe, it's the same exact thing. Instead of holding a tool to the wood and using a caliper to get the different
Right.
thicknesses, the machine will actually go, it'll be turning, and the machine will go down.
Oh, wow,
And
okay.
it uses something called G-code, which is positional.
But based upon the instructions that are provided by her to the machine,
Yes, exactly, 100%.
right? Or Tim, or,
Yeah,
right, so, that's remarkable.
And you can't just think about it like making round bats. What else
Yeah.
can it make, Ava? It can make anything.
Yeah, I mean, the first time we were thinking you can make pens on it, that was another part that we had in the class. So
Oh
we
my
were thinking,
goodness.
yeah, maybe like mini lathes you can put on the desktop for even like smaller projects. You can have a lot of people working all at once.
But the whole point is, you guys really enjoy this.
Yeah.
100%. Or else I wouldn't have taken it 3 years in a row.
You know, I can only imagine what your garage is going to look like one day when you put together your little workshop. I mean, between the computer, the 3D, or whatever we call it that at the time,
One of
and
my
the actual
friends-
tools.
One of my friends, another student here, actually went out and bought himself a CNC machine and put it in his basement. Now he does stuff from his basement. He makes signs, he makes all these different things from a CNC because of what we do here.
Wow.
He got inspired to do that.
So for the rest of your life, we've changed something.
Yeah. of
I think
course.
that we do make them lifelong learners.
Yeah.
It's so amazing how, Ava, you were saying this the other day, how you use so many of the things that you learn outside the doors.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I'm a freshman, so I'm taking geometry right now. And one of the girls in the class was making a bench that opens up. And she was using some of the skills we learned in geometry to find the diagonal of a rectangle and the angles
Oh
that
my
I needed
goodness,
to
wow.
use. So you're really applying a lot of the skills you learn in the other classes, like in real life.
You know, applying and realizing, getting back to the initial reason for really getting together today, which is enrichment. You know, so much of high school, I know, yeah, I mean, it's reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Yeah.
But it's also all about taking things that really are interesting to you and allowing you to explore them and develop skills that you're going to be able to use for the rest of your life.
Yeah. It's
So-
definitely different than a lot of the other classes because you're up and you're moving around and you're not just sitting in a seat and you're like using your hands. It's definitely.
And you're working with other students, I mean, you're a
Yes.
team, so, right?
I think classes like this are very important for some people, especially those who might find classes like these to be a lifelong passion. Because I know some students, my friends, that enjoy classes like woodshop and 3D modeling is another class, right? That will go and use this in their life.
That's great. I'm going to end on that note, and I really thank the both of you, really.
Thank you.
I get so excited when I take a look at the work that you guys do, and I'm glad to see that that excitement is also a part of your life as well, and yours too. So,
Absolutely.
David, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson.
Really, it's really a wonderful experience. I'd really invite, I don't know when we're going to do the display this year. Do you have any idea? It's usually at the time that we do the budget vote, right?
It's around the end of May, first week of June.
Yeah.
Usually around then.
It's really worthwhile coming to see it, so,
Thank you.
you know, just ending with a note of encouragement to anybody who is willing. We should probably put it on our website, the days when you come in. It's really worthwhile coming in to take a look at the work that these kids have done. So I'm going to end on that note. I really want to thank my guest today. It was really a wonderful opportunity for us to learn a little bit more about the multidimensional life here at Southside High School and sharing it with you. And we look forward to seeing you again next time. Thanks so much for joining us. See you soon. Bye now.